How's it going, Steph?
So we're about to go live. Just be aware.
Going.
Okay, we are back. We are live streaming. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the Recreation and Community Development Committee to Chair Wilmer.
Thank you, Mary Love. Okay, today we have 6 items and then 1 correspondence item too. So we'll start with the first one, which is basically just a letter from the Combermere Heritage Society, and it's a bit of an update. It's quite short. Just wondering if there are any questions on that one from anyone. I guess if not, we can just accept it as information. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mark, the only questions I'm getting are actually people from the Heritage, and they were wondering what was happening, of course, with the property there, and what were we doing or what were we not doing. And I just tried to reassure them that, you know, any inquiries should go through the office, and hopefully we'll have some information, because, you know, they're already talking about next year and making plans, but you know, there may be some other issues that come up that may have a major bearing on that. So I think it's, and I know the last time I checked, there was nothing new on that other front. So it is something we need to be very cognizant of, because the property underneath, which of course they're operating, is you know, being discussed at another level. So, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Sue.
I will just put that as an action item for myself. I'll send another email again to the bishop and see if they have any more details for us on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the second item, which is the Barry's Bay Recreation Committee Executive Meeting Minutes. And I think you've all had a chance to look at them. I don't know whether there are any comments or questions on them. We do have a recommendation to accept them as presented. Any questions, any discussion on those minutes? This was from a July 18th meeting. Councillor Schulis was in attendance. I was there for the first part on the playground. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The topic of using using the empties and so on, and there's some suggestion that this should be also offered to the Combermere Recreation. So as well, if they wish to do it here at the end, I won't speak for them, but they need to be contacted with, if this is what's being proposed, if they have an option to do something, and it shouldn't interfere one way or the other with the committee in Barry's Bay. I think it's probably a good initiative for them, but the other group of people should be spoken to.
Yes, I agree, and I guess that's the next item in there, and I think both groups should have same opportunity, and I agree with you completely on that. Yes. So we do have a recommendation. Sue, do you want to read the recommendation?
That the Barry's Bay Recreation Committee Executive Meeting Minutes for July 8th, 2020 be accepted as presented.
Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Schulis, seconded by Mayor Love. All in favor? Carried. All right, item 3 is the Barry Bay Recreation Committee updates, and this is a report from Stephanie. And Stephanie, would you like to comment on this?
Sure. I just wanted to make sure council was aware of some of the up and coming plans for the Barry's Bay Recreation Committee. And as Councillor Poplinski mentioned, the potential bottle drive that we're working through with the operations manager. And I did want to mention Combermere Recreation as well, obviously, because, but I was waiting until the final okay was given through this meeting to approach them. So there's really nothing in here besides their new golf tournament, which you see the advertisement for. We're still working through details on the tennis court event. And then of course is the bottle drive. So that's it.
Just for those, just for people watching, the golf tournament is on September 6th, so not that far. I guess that's this weekend. So if you're interested, what's the best way to sign up for it, Stephanie?
The Barry's Bay Recreation has an email address. It's bbrcmail@gmail.com. And the last update I had is they were over 75% sold out. So call or email, or sorry, email soon.
Perfect. All right. So we've got, do we want to add anything about the Combermere group or rec committee to this motion or recommendation, or just leave it as is for now?
You can, if Sue wants to update, you can change the motion to say Bark Lake as well as Combermere, and then I can contact the group.
Okay. All right, Sue, could you read the recommendation then?
Yes, through the chair. That council and committee accept this report, Barry's Bay Recreation Committee update, as information, and that staff allow the use of an area at the Bark Lake Waste Site and the Combermere Waste Site as a bottle can refund area within the gate if the operations manager deems this collection viable.
Could I have a mover, please? Mayor Love, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All in favor? Carried. All right, item 4 is municipal signage report. Stephanie has provided. Stephanie, could you go through that one, please?
So I did some driving this summer. I wanted to see what the status of our signs are, what they look like, how they're doing shape-wise, brushing, all that fun stuff. And the operations department Public Works was very helpful with doing some brushing and some last-minute changes. And the even exterior, we mentioned under location number 4, Barrie Township was able to do some brushing at one of our signs way out for us. So there was a bit of a community partnership there. So I wanted to make sure that they were recognized for their assistance and that you were all aware of the signs and their locations. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, you can let me know.
I'll open it up. Mayor Love.
I'm just checking I'm on. Okay, thank you, Chair. I was unaware of the sign at location number 6 that says Stop, Shop, Dine, or Stay Downtown Barry's Bay. It's not one of our group of either community signs where they're at the entrances of the various community areas, or one of our lure signs out on the highway. So I'm not sure how that sign came to be about, where it came from. Are we certain it's a municipal sign, or could it perhaps be a BIA sign?
It was on our previous list from the sign fees that we've paid. So I was taking it as the impression it was on our previous list. I was able to dig out paperwork from Amanda, and it was on a previous report that was sent to us. I believe it was from Craig. So it was listed then as a sign of ours, and it's still there. So.
Okay, I just was unaware of it because I was mayor when we were doing all of the refresh on the signs, and it was never mentioned. So okay. I guess it's for my information then. Thank you.
I have a question, Stephanie, just on the permits themselves. They're 5-year permits?
They've now changed the structure. So normally we pay for them yearly, and now they're being charged for a 5-year period. So I spoke with Amanda. We're still able to divide that out amongst our budget the way it should be, but it'll be an upfront charge. Have they increased the cost though yearly? Because I read something about business owners. I guess the different signs that mark businesses on the signs going way up in price. So I'm just wondering if ours had stayed approximately the same. I believe it stayed the same. I would maybe reference that if they were saying it was a lot this year, it was probably because it's a 5-year permit. That's me. Okay, thank you. Mayor Love.
Thank you. I have one other question. It's on page 137 of the package. where you refer to additional sign permits are required for private road entrances along the Highway 60 corridor. Does the municipality have signage that identifies private roads? This is something I wasn't aware of. And if
Well,
so, what
and
do they cost?
Yeah, so the signage that I'm referring to there is a sign for specifically 3 private roads that are along Highway 60. And according to what I've inquired with Hillary as well as with Bancroft directly, we have paid for these signs, and we are required to pay for these signs. They are, I don't have the amount of the fee with me right now. But I can name the lanes if you want. It was Palbetsky Lane, Otter Lake Lane, and it was 3 Carp Lane. So all out by the pub or out by the dump area. But I've questioned where I could and said, are you sure we have to pay for these? And I'm being told we are. So those are additional signs that we've always paid for.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Any, Councillor Paplinsky?
Yes, I had a question. Do we have one near the Whitney area? And
We do,
if we don't,
actually.
then
We
maybe
do.
we do?
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
is it on this list here?
It's not on that list. I went by the list that we had originally gone by, and actually when I was on my holidays this past summer, I noticed the additional sign. So wasn't aware. So, but when I drove by, it could probably use some brushing, but besides that, I think it's in pretty good shape as well.
I think it's really, if I may, it's really important
Yep.
because there's so much traffic is coming up from Toronto into Algonquin Park. And it's, you know, that some people think that the world stops there. And they're very surprised when they find out that there's much more to see beyond Algonquin Park and down in our area. So anyway, that's good. I'm glad you followed up on that.
Great.
Thanks.
Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. I'm wondering if we could just send a thank you to the municipality that assisted us by doing brushing, if we could send them a letter of thanks. And certainly, Stephanie, you've seen this other sign out by Whitney. Does it require any work? And if so,
Just
should
brushing.
we- So can our staff go out and do that? So that
I
the sign is
don't-
visible?
Yep, I would think so. Yep.
Okay.
Right. Okay, any more questions? All right, could I have the recommendation read? Sue? Where is it?
This is just that council accepts the municipal signage report as information. I don't believe I need a resolution.
No, okay, sorry.
Thank you. Nope, that's fine.
Okay, so move on to the next one, which is the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association images request. And Stephanie, again, that's your report.
It is. So I've been following up with meetings through economic development, and one of the items mentioned was images that they're looking for through the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association. And they would like to have more images available of the surrounding townships, including streetscapes as well as community images. So meaning anything from downtown pictures to pictures from cliffs, rock cuts, anything that we have in each of our 3 population centers. And they'd be willing to partner with us on this opportunity. So the pictures that they would take, we would be given access to, and the amount that they were proposing, and they haven't finalized any of their numbers yet. They're still gaining interest of surrounding towns. But they were looking for between $500 to $750. And we do have funds in our advertising budget that we could very easily use to make this partnership work. So I just wanted council to be aware that that's something that we're looking into going ahead with.
All right, questions. Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. Stephanie, I'm wondering, are they just doing still shots, or will they be shooting video as well? And would we have any input into the locations?
So they told me that we will hopefully be giving them input to the locations as well as providing some models for the pictures. So if anybody's out there interested and would like to be a part of these pictures in our township, please contact me, or if any members of council would be interested. But video has not come up. I'm not 100% sure, so I will question whether or not video is included, but for now it's just pictures and still images.
All right, Mayor Love?
Sorry, a follow-up. If we're providing models, could we ensure that the models we're offering reflect the diversity of our community? I did notice that some photos taken a while back seem to indicate that we were solely a very specific group of people in our community. There was no diversity at all in those photos. So it would be nice if there was some diversity in the models we provide.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right, that's a good point. Any other discussion on this report? If not, could I have Sue?
I just wanted to add, we are updating our photos on the website as well. So I do know that we have, Janice is taking some updated pictures for us so that we can have a change of seasons, any change of pictures as well. And I wasn't sure with the OVTA, with us responding, is there like a deadline when we have to reply, or we're just saying, yes, we want them to do that or not, Steph? Like,
They were planning on moving ahead the second week in September, so I just needed to have an answer for them before the middle of September. But
Okay.
they're still waiting on their photographer confirmations and all the other logistical arrangements they're making. So I don't have a straight answer on that right now.
All right. Okay, any other comments? If not, could I have a mover, please? Oh, I guess I need to have the recommendation read first. Sorry. Sue, could you please read the recommendation?
that council and committee accept the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association Images Partnership Report as information, and that staff proceed with this partnership opportunity with the OVTA to obtain downtown streetscape and community images.
Okay, now could I have a mover? Mayor Love, and seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All in favor? And it's carried. Okay, the next item is the another report from Stephanie. The Paul J. Yakubuski Community Center 2020-2021 skating season. Stephanie?
Okay, so this report is quite fluid, as I mentioned in the report, but we're hoping to proceed with an ice-in date of October 17th. I've discussed with the groups, and the figure skating group would like to see us move it up a little bit. The minor hockey group seems comfortable with the date that we've chosen. I'm hopeful that the provincial guidelines will become a little more clear in the next little bit. But what I'm looking for from council right now is just the okay to go ahead and put the ice in. And again, the concern from some staff is we're going to put it in and then maybe we'll have to take it out. That's a risk we're going to be taking, I assume. And I need council to be aware of that. If something happens, that we could be taking the ice out. I'm not sure what COVID will bring in the fall. But the date of October 17th, our thoughts are it will go a little bit after school has started and see how everything goes. And from there, we will have to comply with the recommendations from the health unit regarding cleaning the facility. And it's a large facility. It's one of the larger arenas and or ice surfaces in the area. And I need council to be aware that the staff that are required in the building is going to be more than what we'd normally put in. Generally, there's one staff member on site during ice season, and that is when rentals are happening. We had students come in last fall and the fall before that to assist with some of the ongoing ice maintenance. But at this point, I need council's, I'm not sure if approval is the right word, I guess it is, to move forward with having more staff in the building to be cleaning as we go. The recommendations from public health right now are clear as mud. And I'm putting that nicely, and I just, when I say that, I'm meaning that they're telling us that we need to clean as often as necessary to maintain sanitary condition. So there's no set in stone every day, every hour, every other hour, every rental. Their recommendation clearly says it should be, their recommendation clearly says it should be between every user. But with our circumstances, between every user means hourly. I'm not scared of making that decision, but I need council's permission and or approval to say that we will have staff there that often at that building. And meaning that I will have an arena attendant there all day long, as well as a cleaning staff to keep up with the users switching of ice times, cleanup and everything else that's involved. The other issue I'm seeing right now is the dressing rooms. A few of our rental groups have told us that they may or may not rent ice if we are not opening our dressing rooms. From what I can tell, Renfrew and Arnprior and are planning on opening their dressing rooms. Pembroke, Petawawa, Cobden, and are planning on not opening their dressing rooms. And Eganville is still undecided. So we do share a minor hockey team with Eganville. And I know that's not a big deal, but you'll have kids coming into one rink getting dressed or undressed, and whether or not they can, we're asking users to come as mostly dressed as possible. We've changed a lot of our rental contracts and sent them to public health so that they're aware of what the guidelines that we're proposing as staff, and they seem comfortable. There's a couple minor changes that I need to make. But besides that, everything is seeming to fall together. The capacity at the arena is fluid, as you can appreciate. So right now, 50 people in the stands, 50 people on the ice, and 50 people upstairs. There was a line at the back of my report about renting the upstairs. If we're using the ice surface, the only way that I'm seeing we'll be able to do that is with providing a separate entrance. So that the groups that are renting the ice are not mixed with the groups who are renting the upstairs. So the only separate entrance, as you know, our community center would be the back staircase that comes from the hall. I was there on the site, and there is a cement pad there, so it's not that it's all gravel and needs a whole lot of work, but it would probably need I'll have to speak with the building department. If we are going to go ahead with using that as a rental space, then we may need to make some, I'll say, cosmetic changes to that entrance to make it viable. It's more or less an emergency exit right now. And the groups that come in for the hockey rentals right now, we'll be looking at bringing them in the main door, and they'll be leaving out the dressing room doors, so as not to mix the groups coming in from going out. I know there's a lot, and I'm open to questions. We've been looking into electrostatic sprayers and the cost for that type of cleaning to make it easier, faster, more efficient for staff, given our large dressing rooms. Now, when I say large dressing rooms based on 6 feet apart, I'm able to fit 7 to 9 people in our dressing rooms, depending on which dressing room it is I'm talking about at the time. They're not all the same size, they're a little bit different. So it's convoluted and lots of information in this report. But I just wanted council to be aware of some of the things that we've come to and stood up against, trying to come up with the best case scenario and where to proceed. So if you have any questions, feel free.
All right. Anyone have any? I'm sure there are some questions. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Chair. My question pertains to the rental of the ice surface. And normally we offer the dressing rooms and showers if need be and so on. Are we considering the possibility of reducing the rate if they're not using the dressing rooms, etc.? Is that something that committee has thought about? Is it something we should consider? I don't know, but I'm sure it'll come up. if people are saying we're paying so much an hour to be there and use the dressing room, so on. So is that something that we should be considering?
It hasn't been considered in anything that I have. Nobody else is considering lowering their rates. A lot of the municipalities were unsure if they were going to increase their rates. Everybody has pretty well decided that they're going with what their rate was last year and moving along. So, and that goes across all the municipalities. I've attended 2 meetings with Renfrew County municipalities, and mainly recreation staff, and a lot of the discussion was to do with opening arenas. So we kind of have a good idea of what everybody's doing, but everything is changing. So for right now, no, we haven't considered lowering the rate. I was unsure if council would decide to go ahead and open the dressing rooms or decide on leaving them closed. So once that decision is made, then I guess we can move forward with that.
I just know, just a comment for myself on that, Councillor Poplinski. I know that we're already, I think we're already subsidizing in our hourly rate when we do rent out the ice for an hour. We're not covering all our costs. And I would be very concerned about lowering anything at this point, because my concern, first of all, I support moving the ice going in back to October 17th. But I have a concern that if the registration for minor hockey and if some of these adult groups decide not to use it, I have to wonder when do we say that we don't have enough ice time to even operate the arena this year? That there's a point where we have to look at our revenue and say, you know, it really isn't worth doing it this year. So that's my concern. And I know we have time. I think the minor hockey registration ends on the 15th.
Mhm.
And, you know, we need to hear what some of these other groups, how much ice time they want. I don't know, Stephanie, have you thought of sort of what a minimum amount of ice would be or rentals needed to at least make it viable? I know we're going to be losing money on the arena this year, but I'm worried that it may even be worse than that. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Chair. My question is, you're talking about perhaps requiring extra people and more costs. Now, I think further on the agenda here, someplace, I think I've seen it, where there is another grant available. I'm wondering if we were going to be able to get in on that. And it sounds like that's exactly what it's designed for. Perhaps I see the mayor with her hand up. Probably she's got some, be able to give us some information on that.
All right, Mayor Love.
Thank you. Yes, the thing you're referencing is the money that came down to assist municipalities with our COVID-related losses of revenue and operating costs. So I know I have had a quick conversation with our treasurer, who I don't see on right now, and with the CAO, and they're aware that we are already have costs that are significant. We may not have sufficient funds. Oh, treasurer is coming on. We may not have sufficient funds to be able to cover these costs as well, because the municipality already has a certain amount of COVID costs that are fairly high. So we can't necessarily count on that being the case. The other challenge we'll have as a municipality is that we'll, for the phase 2 component of that funding, we'll be vying against all the big cities who are looking for funding for transit, additional funding for transit, and their operating losses. So we may find that we would not actually be able to assume that if we have spend an additional $1 or 10 or 5,000 in order to clean for COVID, we may not get that money back. So I'm just cautioning that I wouldn't count on it. Basically, I don't know. Amanda's still trying to connect, but I know Sue and I had a conversation and she identified we pretty much had already spent a lot of that money.
Right, well, we'll wait to see if Amanda comes in. Amanda, can you hear us? Councillor Bromwich.
You can see me. realistically, this year, we're gonna lose a lot of money on this arena, okay? Yeah, it's just a simple fact. The regulations that are being put in place by the Ontario government expects us to continue supplying services and recreation facilities against all odds here. And I think it's just a realistic look at this thing. We are going to have less usage of our PJ&Y. We're going to have more staff involved to keep it going. And we're going to lose our shirts on this. But like I say, if the government of Ontario wants to keep putting these regulations in, is there anything that can be done to get more help on that issue? We do have that fund, like Kim Love was saying, but we can't use all that money up just for recreation. It has to go to other things. We're going to have a tough winter here, and I think it's just a realistic thing that we're looking at. If we're going to supply services for recreation, I think the dressing rooms have to be open. That means more cleaning, more staff. You can't start eliminating these things and putting and stop the services and expect people to pay full amount to rent the ice. I think it's just a matter of fact, we're going to lose a lot of money this winter. And that's just a fact of life. Unless the government comes up with another plan to help us out. But I think everybody's in the same boat here. Thank you.
I agree with that, Councillor Bromwich. Is Amanda in yet? I guess not.
I can see it's still saying trying to connect to audio.
Yeah. All right. Well, Councillor Bromwich, since you addressed it, there is one decision on this report that we as a council have to make, and that's concerning the dressing rooms, whether we want to open them on a trial basis or leave them closed. So I think we could, if there's any discussion or any sort of consensus on that. Any Councillor Bromwich has indicated that we should open them up. Mayor Love.
Yes, we don't know yet what's going to happen in the fall, and I don't think we can assume the worst case scenario. Renfrew County is doing very well in our management of COVID. People are being very careful. They're abiding by public health directions in order to stay safe and stay healthy. So if we open them up, we always have the option to pull back. And we need to make that very clear that if we're opening, we're putting the ice in and we're opening the dressing rooms, it is a trial situation. It's a wait and see. The environment we're working in and the environment that Stephanie has tried to work in and bring us concrete decisions to make. I can't commend her enough. She's working in an ever-changing, by the moment situation. So I think we have to accept that we may risk and lose a bit. We may be faced with having to pull back, and as long as we make that message very clear from the get-go to all the users that we will do our best, I'd rather, step into this and try to do our best and hope that, and I hate to use the word hope, but because it's been taken very negatively in the press when it's used by the provincial level of politicians, but I would want us to try to do our best, and then we can always reconsider. So if things continue to go well for Renfrew County, we would be on a path to having a regular kind of winter. We know we're not going to have the revenue that we would have had last winter. We know there's going to be issues, but this is one of the key recreational facilities that we provide to our community. There's a lot of our young people who use this facility for minor hockey, for figure skating. I don't see how we can't at least try. We can always reconsider. We can always pull back. We can always adjust what we're doing based on what the latest advice is from public health. And again, I would just commend Stephanie for being able to bring something to us today, that it gives us a good, solid decision we can make. Thank you.
Councillor Peplinski.
Yes, thanks, Chair. My question relates to the Driver's License Bureau. Are they operating, or are they going to continue to do so in the future, or whatever? Does anybody have an idea? They are?
Well, we've been told they are operating. They've given us dates till the end of 2020.
Okay, so we're making sure, because we have no control of who comes in that building. It's different when we have rentals, individual rental teams and so on. And so hopefully there's a bit of monitoring going on. If these
So-
people are coming from another area, how are we going to manage this?
Stephanie?
So whether or not they're from our area or not, it's a person in our building. So the buildings are cleaned immediately after their use. They have protocols in place. They're tracking who's coming in and who's going out. And if we need a copy of their list at any point, we can ask for it. So we have contract tracing that way. We do also at the beginning, for council's information, at the door of every one of our community centers right now, there is a binder. In that binder is a COVID questionnaire that everybody has to read. And then they sign their name, their phone number, and whether or not they passed that screening. And then that way we have contact tracing. The guidelines we're seeing right now are we have to keep those names and signatures, phone numbers for 30 days. So after that, we can get rid of them. But right now, every community center and anybody who enters it has to complete the sign-in sheet.
Good, you've
Thank you.
answered the question. Thank you.
Amanda, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Councillor Poplinski had a question concerning the COVID funding and whether it could cover some of the costs, I guess, of extra staff required for the cleaning of the arenas, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, that would fall within the realm of this allowable spending, yes.
Okay. Mayor Love.
Yes, Amanda, at this point, though, we do have significant items that would fall under that realm. So my concern I'm expressing, having talked to Sue about this, is that there may not be sufficient funds in the money we've been given to cover all these costs. So we need to be mindful of that. So for example, we have our interests that we have lost on taxation. That's a significant chunk right there. All of our additional cleaning costs for all our various buildings, our costs for personal protective equipment. So I guess I didn't want council to just think automatically if we add more cleaning staff for the arena that we would be reimbursed for that funding. Specifically, as it relates to once the money we've received is gone, it would be more challenging for us to get money under, I think it's phase 2. So that was my question or concern, and just wanted you to maybe speak to if you know where we're at with that at this point.
Okay. So we haven't received the funding, the monies yet. It hasn't come into our hands yet. My understanding was that it is for expenses. I'd have to look at whether it covers lost revenues. Right now, at this point, we would not have reached our max for the cost. I don't know what the number is. I don't have that for you. I apologize. If we are going to be adding in lost revenues, absolutely, definitely. We have maxed that $193,000. Yeah, I'll have to look into the details of it if it is in consideration of lost revenues. But if it's just expenses that we've experienced during that time, then we are not at that limit yet.
Right. Thank you. Mayor Love.
Okay, so I know this isn't finance and administration, but I'm just wondering if for our next meeting, if you could give us an update on what our lost revenues look like, what our expenses look like, just so council is kept informed of that situation, because as I say, I want to always be cautious that we may not get any more money than what we have been promised. And therefore we need to be aware that may be tax dollars that we're spending. So is that okay, Amanda? Could you provide that for our next committee meeting?
I can do that.
Great, thank you so much.
Right, thank you. So I seem to be getting a bit of a feeling that the council is willing to open the dressing rooms on a trial basis as an option. So I'm wondering, is there any more discussion? And then if not, we can have the recommendation read with that option on the dressing rooms. Sue.
I just needed clarification if, from what I heard, you mentioned conditional to ice time rentals. Is that something that you would like me to include in that resolution, or was that just
No,
a
it was more
point
just,
of
it was more
concern?
just information for me that I was interested in.
Okay.
So Sue, would you be able to read the recommendation then?
Yes, through the chair, the council and committee recommend to council to accept this report, PJYCC 2021 skating season as information, and that based on 2018-19 and 2019-2020 ice usage staff proceed with the ice date of October 17, 2020, conditional to adherence to any changes to the provincial guidelines. And that staff ensure cleaning staff is scheduled during regular ice operating hours to comply with COVID cleaning recommendations. And that staff proceed with opening the dressing rooms on a trial basis until provincial guidelines change until provincial guidelines change.
Okay, I will move that. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Poplinski, all in favor or against? All in favor? Okay, and that has been passed. All right, so that's it for reports. We have one item of correspondence, and that's the disappointing news on the PJY grant that we did not receive. However, I think Mayor Love is still working on that, and we'll be meeting with Minister Yakubuski later this week.
I am, in terms of another announcement, I will be with him, and I'm going to see if I can arrange to have a sit down with him to just inform him of the situation and see if there is any opportunity for us to either move this forward in some way, or if he has any advice in terms of any other funding streams, because at this point, I'm not really aware of any funding streams that we could apply to next. It does not seem to fit in with the announced federal funding stream of 80% funding for pandemic resilient infrastructure. You'd be hard pressed to make an arena totally pandemic resilient, I would think. But we are looking into it. If somebody can come up with a way to do it, we'll certainly apply. But at this point, I just, we're still working on it. It's not, we haven't given up all hope.
All right. All right. Are there any comments on that? If not, that is the end of the recreation segment. So I'll turn it back over to Mayor Love. Councillor Schules. Need your microphone on, Councillor.
I have to unmute. Yeah. Okay. I sort of been thinking about this this bottle drive that the Barry's Bay Recreation Committee, and I've just been pondering about it here because I want to understand it. We're having a meeting, Stephanie, I think tomorrow evening. Yeah. So, yeah, what I want to do is just clarification here. So the Barclay dump, or landfill, I should say, is going to have a kind of a depot for the Barry's Bay Recreation. Commermere landfill or depot is going to have something for the Commermere Recreation Center, or is it going to be in two places divided? I just need clarification. That's all.
Well, I would think it'll be decided amongst the groups themselves. So Barry's Bay would probably use Barclay, Combermere would probably use Combermere, but I haven't even discussed the matter with Combermere Recreation first. I wanted to see if there was an interest from council to allow that, and then I will proceed to speaking with them and see what their opinions are. Yeah, and whatever they do with the money will be up to their discretion.
Right. So that'll be discussed in tomorrow evening at with Barry's, because they actually came up with this idea and all that, and I don't mind other organizations coming in on this because it's a great idea. And I can see from this year that probably the Wilma Rink is going to look at this as a great fundraiser and be asking for a depot to be in Wilma. So anyway, thank you very much for the clarification. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue.
I just wanted to ensure that we are still waiting confirmation from the operations manager. He has to verify to ensure that our C of A allows that to be added to the site. So we do need clarification from Hillary before confirming anything with the committees, I believe.
All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you, Stephanie. And I will turn the meeting back over to the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chair Wilmer. Our next section is planning matters and statutory meeting under the Planning Act. For municipal reports, now I don't see Mr. Lorbetsky. I gather he is not available right now. But under municipal reports, we have the building permit statistics for July 1st, 2020 to July 31st, 2020. So I guess I'll just ask if the council has any questions, and we could refer those to Mr. Lorbetsky for him to respond to later. I do believe this is a month's worth of building statistics. Is that correct, Sue? Am I reading that right? Sue?
Yes, it is. So this is the report that is generated from City Manager. It gives you a comparison to last year in the same time period. There was a question asked amongst staff about, why is it there's the same amount of permits, yet the amount is so much lower? We did get some clarification from the CBO that when somebody comes in and fills in their building permit, they are the ones that put the cost value that the building is based on. So this does not reflect assessment. MPAC comes in after the fact, and they often will come back to say that the amount on the permit was undervalued based on the final assessment that's assigned to it. As staff, I did talk to the CBO and as well as to the admin assistant, Mr. Poplinski. And we are going to ask MPAC that the form that we send to MPAC is an Excel sheet. It identifies all of the information they need to have, and they take that and then they have their own formula to then assign the assessment after final occupancy. We want to ask if they can send us back that sheet once we've submitted it to them, and if they would populate the assessment. It would give us a clearer picture based on this was the permit, and this is now the assessment, so that council had a true picture as to what those 27 permits generated.
Okay, thank you. Sue, is there a reason that the individual applicant is determining the value for the permit? Because I know through that process, the actual fee for the permit is calculated. So it would seem to me that everyone who submits one is going to undervalue as much as they possibly can whatever it is that they're requesting a permit for, because they will pay a lower fee. Am I missing something there?
No, we asked the same question, and a lot of it is we are, if you're applying as the builder, you are able to put that home, that garage up for much less than what MPAC deems is the per square foot of building a home if you were to retain a contractor. So it's not that they're trying to defraud or to say that it's any less. If you do the work yourself, if you have the skill set, and as long as you adhere to all the requirements needed for the building, you actually can say that it costs you that much less to put up that home.
Okay, fine. It's kind of interesting that it's sort of on a good faith sort of approach to our acquisition of building permit fees. We are trusting the applicant. I noticed Councillor Poplinski has his hand up. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, I do have a point. I noticed that we're looking at new construction as opposed to renovations. And of course, right away, you're going to have more building permit fees for new construction because it's based on the total building. And of course, the renovations are, there are more renovations than new buildings last year. And of course, we're looking at about half the amount of money because of that very fact. Additions are not based on the whole structure, but it's be part of it. So I would say that would be the obvious reason why you can't really compare the two. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Does any other comments or questions from council on that? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we don't have any correspondence or outstanding matters to my knowledge for planning. Sue, we don't have anything further on planning?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess we will move on to our finance and administration section of the meeting. Under municipal reports, first we have a gas tax funds policy development report, and that is from Amanda. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello. Okay, so the purpose of this report. So annually, I have to provide a report to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario regarding the gas tax funds, how it was spent, where it was spent, how much was spent. And then at the end, there is a self-reporting risk management questionnaire, and it asks, do you have all these different types of policies and procedures and SOPs? And so I have to tick off which ones I have and which ones I don't have. So some of them we have, like reserve and investment policies and things inside of that nature. And one of them that I was not able to tick off that we do have is an SOP for gas tax funds. And so I just thought that I had to explain to our AMO representative that I will be working on it to ensure that we start implementing some of these policies and get them all set up. So I'm starting off with this one. It was somewhat simple. And so that's what this is, an SOP or a step-by-step of what happens and how we receive the money, and you know, the how we decide on where the money goes. And so I'm just asking for council's approval to adopt this into our policies and procedures.
Okay, thank you. So SOP means standard operating procedures, is that
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so this isn't about, council will still make the decision as to where the gas tax is allocated, but this
Correct.
is the process that you're identifying
That's right.
from the beginning right through to the end reporting. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda about this piece of policy?
Good.
Are we all good with this piece of policy? Any concerns? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'm wondering, did you want Amanda to read the recommendation, Sue, or will you read it?
Oh, I can read it. I have it up.
Okay.
Through the chair, that committee and council recommends that council approve draft policy standard operating procedures number SOP GA01 for the use of gas tax funds.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, great. Next we have Main Street Revitalization Fund grant reporting update. And again, this is from Amanda.
So we received Main Street Revitalization funding, and council had previously allocated certain amounts to the different communities, Wilno, Combermere, and Barry's Bay. And we were not able to spend all that money by the spring of this year, which was when the funding deadline was. So there was an extension agreement, and now we are getting close to the reporting deadline and the spending deadline for these funds. So I would like to just finalize the report. So I've attached the spending allocations for you to see what was spent for each of the communities. And then also we just completed the Combermere Community Gazebo project, and it looks wonderful. There was an estimate submitted to me by the contractor for some railings as well. And so I thought I would just bring this up to council's attention. There's also been a request to donate metal bench or picnic tables for it as well. So I just wanted, before I finalize this report and send it off to AMO, I just wanted to see if council would like to proceed with this, the railings, and what their thoughts are on the picnic table.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Amanda, a quick question. Has all of the Main Street funding been spent?
It has.
So at this point, we've also added municipal tax dollars into the projects that were
Correct.
completed. Okay.
So if you look at the report, the amount that we received from AMO was $41,292.95. We received that money. And to date, we have spent $53,208.76 on the communities, which is a municipal investment of $11,915.81.
Okay, thank you. And a lot of that overage was due to the requirement for a minor, I think it was a minor variance, sort of some of the issues that where the municipality has to follow our own rules. And we did run into some issues with the gazebo as a result of certain setbacks that couldn't be met. So there was an overage on that project due to those sorts of situations where we have to actually follow our own rules as well. Okay, so what would you like, let's see, what do we need to talk about first? You need to submit the report. So do we want to talk about the picnic table donation? Or, okay, I'm seeing Councillor Poplinski's hand. Councillor Poplinski?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, talking about the railing, that was part of the original concept. And it even had been bidded on in one of the proposals that I'd received, that was part of it. And when the job got completed, I found that it had been taken out for obvious reasons, because of the shortfall of money and so on. Obviously, that was the reason. But the topic of benches, people are waiting to hear back. And so when I now see this report that the Lions Club want to give a table, it sort of mystifies me, because the whole concept of the railing was to have some benches on the inside of this gazebo. And by putting this table there and not considering the railing and the benches were to be donated. I've got names of people that are waiting to do this. And so I'm just wondering why. I think we need to have a good discussion about this and look at the use. Right now, there's a picnic table in there. I'd asked Hillary to do that, and he was kind enough to do it. And it's being utilized every day. And I think most of us that have driven down there, we see families in there using it, people stopping to charge their phones, do all of that. But we have to decide, what are we going to expect the use of this building? Is it only going to be with one table in it where people are going to stop and have an ice cream cone? Is it something that I see in other gazebos? I've taken part in them in many different areas where they actually have people, anywhere from one person up to 8-10 people performing some music or whatever. So what do we really want to do with it? If it's only to have your ice cream cone, then maybe the metal table is a good idea. But I'm not really in favor of having a Lions Club table in the middle of our gazebo, frankly. We could maybe utilize it someplace else. And what do we say to the people that wanted to sponsor these benches? The benches would have been a great idea on the inside of the rail. Partial rail, which was what was suggested. I think it's 3 areas where you've got some railing, and that's where I would suggest the benches would go. So I think it's premature to decide we're going to put a table in there and just throw out the idea totally of the railing, because we need to look at it as what is it going to be used for down the road.
Okay, so definitely the purpose of the project was to promote and enhance the business area of downtown Combermere. And as we all recognize, a lot of the traffic to those businesses does come by boat. And so the gazebo is a logical choice to provide a nice space for people coming by boat to visit the downtown to use. There's no doubt about that. Is staff aware of who these individuals are who wish to donate benches? Because this is the first, I mean, It's the first I'm hearing of it. So I just want to make sure we're aware of who they are so they can be contacted and that could be confirmed. Obviously, if benches are going to be donated, we don't necessarily need a picnic table. So we kind of need to clear this issue up, but staff needs to know who wants to donate the benches and then to have those conversations. Maybe the Lions Club would be interested in donating something else towards this. They have obviously, you know, graciously put forward a suggestion, probably because they've seen the picnic table in there and that it has been used, as you say, Councillor Poplinski, a great deal. So I'm wondering if I don't think whether there's benches or whether there's a picnic table matters to staff's ability to submit the final report for the grant. But I'm wondering if we could maybe send this back to staff and make sure they are aware of who those donators are who have requested to donate benches and what it is they're looking to donate, just so that we can align this and make a good decision, because I don't feel, based on what you've said, that we have all the information. Thoughts on that? Anyone? Okay. Could Councillor Wilmer?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Love, and I think we can complete the application. But again, I can understand what Councillor Poplinski is saying about the picnic table, because once that's used, there really isn't any room for anything else. The benches might make more sense. But again, I think it's worth finding out who wants to donate, and do we have a standard bench being made that will be the same for each one? Who's building them? These sort of questions, just like to know a little more about. And yeah, I guess that's about it. So yeah, I agree. Let's do a little more research into that, but I think we can proceed with the rest of the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
I just wanted to add, the Lions Club, the reason it's on the report is the Lions Club approached Stephanie. It wasn't staff that asked about the picnic table. And I don't know, it was mentioned for the inside of the gazebo, but it could also enhance just another seating area there if they're willing to donate for that reason as well. I don't have any information on the type of bench or who has committed to donate benches. I do know Councillor Poplinski had said that once there was a gazebo, it would be, you know, a viable thing to pursue, and that he already knew some people that would probably commit to that. But yeah, I agree. If you know, we had that information to add to that, we could certainly come back to council.
Okay, so maybe Councillor Poplinski, if you have names of individuals who would like to donate a bench, and if maybe you could provide those to staff, please. And staff, if that looks like we're going to go with benches, perhaps we could approach the Lions Club and suggest that we're looking towards benches rather than a picnic table, and see maybe they would also like to contribute a bench. I don't know how many names of people who are going to put forward the money for this, but you know, maybe we can do this with benches. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, the idea of the benches, of course, and people donating came back. It started quite some time ago, and I had the name of people that said they would be more than willing, because the topic came up of how the gazebo was funded and installed in Wilno, and there were many people that contributed money, and they have their names on the inside of the gazebo. It's a wonderful, wonderful building, wonderful enterprise, and really extremely well managed for the good of the community. And so there were people that said they were interested in doing that. And then there were folks that came out and said, we'd also like to have our name on 2 of the red chairs and have them in the gazebo. Well, that's not, this is something else, initiative that started in the township, and a really wonderful one where people are donating chairs and money. And so instead of doing the red chairs, it was suggested that they sponsor a bench. And of course, the topic came up of making sure that it's uniform and going to fit in. So in my discussions with the contractor, that was why the location of the limited railing would be there at the back of the benches, basically. And the benches then could be added on. So the exact I don't have a picture of this, but they have them in many different areas. And it would be very, I think, easy to attain. So in terms of the people that want to do this, I'm sure they're still interested in doing it. And once again, the Lions Club, they're very good to contribute. The suggestion of having them do a bench in conjunction with the others would or some other seating, whatever. Just don't feel, in spite of the generous offer of putting this inside the gazebo, I don't think it's a quick fix, but it's not the answer to what we're trying to do. So, and I think once we see people contributing, there'll be other donations made in terms of maybe flowers and the various things that could be done there. So I think it's all a really good situation, but we need to tap into the people that are willing to contribute. So.
Okay, well, Councillor Poplinski, please provide the names and contact information for those individuals that you have to staff so they can follow up and ensure that everyone's on the same page. You know, I think council concurs that it can't be just any old bench. It needs to be specifically chosen to work in this situation. So I think if you could provide the information you have to staff, then staff can follow up, and staff could also then follow up with the Lions Club and just suggest to them that, you know, thank them for the offer of a picnic table, but that council is looking in a slightly different direction. Would they be interested in contributing towards a bench? I think if staff would do that follow-up for us, you could come back to us then with some firm information about what exactly is being offered as a donation and what remains to be done. Okay, so Amanda, thank you.
So for my purposes, for the reporting of this funding, so my understanding is then that we will not be approving this railing expenditure, and our expenditures for the Combermere Community Gazebo are complete. That's my understanding. Am I correct?
So at this point, there's no funding left to use for the railing. Whether council decides to put the railing on once we've got the benches lined up and the donors lined up, we may find there's a donor for the railing as well. So I'd rather hold off on approving a recommendation on the railing until we firm up exactly what the community is willing to donate, and then move forward that way. But in terms of you responding to and doing your reporting requirements, you know, you have more than enough project to report back without the railing. So could we just hold off and let staff follow up and bring council back some firmer information on who on the donations and on also what exactly this looks like? And I'm wondering, Councillor Poplinski, if you could provide staff with some information or a photo of the kind of railing and benches that you are thinking of. It would be helpful for them to make sure they're on the right track. Sue.
I think what we'll need as well is, I'm not sure, Councillor Poplinski, if the design of the bench has already been selected, and or like if there's already a cost to that bench. So maybe we can put all
No,
that together.
I haven't seen that yet, but you know, the one thing we can't do, the wooden benches are very nice downtown Barry's Bay and other places we've got them, but you can't put in something that requires that much room. You need something that can fit in between the pillars, and that's not going to take up a whole lot of the seating or the usable space within the gazebo. So there are many out there, and I think that I can speak again with the contractor and get his views on it, and sort of go from there. And I can certainly make available the names of the people that have expressed an interest in contributing.
Councillor Schulist.
Yes, to Madam Mayor. Yeah, this is interesting. One of the things that was done in Wilmot, I mean, they end up building it exactly how it was designed, and then people ended up donating money towards a beam, to a post, to whatever, right? And all they wanted was a name on there, right? So I think build it the way you want it. And if somebody wants to donate money towards a bench, and if it's $100 to it, well, that's the cost of that bench. But I think, build it, and then people will support it. And the one thing we noticed in Wellno, they took ownership of this. And I think this is a great idea for sure, right? So anyway, that's just my input. Thank you very much.
Okay, Amanda?
So I think these are all really great projects, and it's excellent to see that we're investing in all the communities. I would just like to point out, though, Councillor Schulis' idea is a really great idea. My concern was that at one point council had allocated specific amounts to each community. So I just want to be clear for myself, you know, when I'm signing off on those expenses, that I'm understanding council's plans here, because the amount of Main Street funds originally dedicated towards the Countermere gazebo was 16,808, and the project has now reached 24,638. So if we are assuming more expenses, I just want to make sure that council is in agreement, because there was a previous resolution, right? So I just want, for my own protection, that is all.
Okay, so I guess what I'm
understand.
going to ask is, does any member of council have a concern with the projects that have been completed and the way the funds have been allocated at this point in time? Are there concerns? I think you've seen Amanda's reporting, so I don't think there's a concern, Amanda. I think if we're going to be spending more tax dollars, we want all this legwork done in terms of, can we not have to expend tax dollars because people are willing to donate, and then what does it look like and what does it cost?
Right.
So I think that's what we're asking at this point, is that staff would, Councillor Poplinski would provide the names, and that staff would do a bit of legwork on this, and you know, review with the builder what kind of designs would make this bench work.
Yep.
Because we don't want to just, as Councillor Poplinski said, we're not trying to stick the kind of bench that was placed in downtown Barry's Bay in this gazebo. It'll look like an enormous dinosaur. It'll make the space look very small, but it could be done in a way that's going to be complementary to the gazebo without taking up all the space. And I can see where a picnic table in the middle makes it a picnic spot for one person, one family. Like,
Right.
So this, I think we're asking, will staff go back and work with the names that Councillor Poplinski is going to provide to ensure that you can come back to us with some firmer information. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, I think that's a very good way of proceeding. And what I would suggest here is that we respond to the Lions Club generous offer, and perhaps suggest to them that they may want to, if they want to get in touch with me, I'd be more than happy to talk to them and tell them basically what the others have proposed. And then maybe we could go from there and let them be in on that contribution, you know?
Okay.
I think that would be a very good way.
Okay, perhaps Stephanie, sorry, Stephanie.
It's okay. I do have just one thing to add. If with everything that I've been learning with regards to COVID cleaning, one way in, one way out, I just want us to be aware that a railing around the gazebo could create like a traffic jam. I just want to make sure we have the right openings in the right places so that you can go one way in, one way out without having to back yourself up and go back out the same way. And I think originally, well, Ernie said half of the gazebo would be having a railing. I'm not really sure, but I just want us to be cognizant of the new COVID world that we're living in.
Okay, so I think that's where we need staff to be working on this, just to ensure that we're not causing any grief down the road, that it's pandemic resilient. I know. But so if we could just provide that direction, then is council good with that direction? I think that's the direction, but what we do need is a recommendation on submitting the final project report. So Sue, would you read that recommendation for us?
I do, through the chair, that committee and council recommends the treasurer proceed with submitting the project report for the Main Street Revitalization Initiative.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Counselor Wilmer, seconded by Counselor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so that gets that off. Amanda's able to send that off, and staff will come back to us with further information. Sue?
Just need clarification. So I have as an action item, so Councillor Poplinski will provide us the design or size and the sample of the proposed bench. And then we will have Stephanie contact the Lions Club to get in touch with Councillor Poplinski and to discuss the potential donors. Is that correct?
Okay, and Counselor Poplinski will also provide you with the list of names of people who are interested in donating and their contact information, because it's important that staff have that to coordinate this project.
Okay, I just want to be clear, because I don't, the request for us to get clarification on the design and the bench is not because if Councillor Poplinski already has this initiative of the donations, I don't want it taken to just, staff has to do that. There may be a better rapport with Councillor Poplinski leading that initiative. I think for staff, it's just clarification on the cost, the site, the type of bench, how much. Is it something that I have to go to RFQ for, or is it just $100 bench? I just want to make sure that we're staying within our procurement bylaw.
No, that's fine. If that's how you'd like to do it, I just want to make sure people are moving this forward. I don't want it to get lost. Okay.
Thank you.
So if that's good, Councillor Poplinski, you're good with that?
No, I think it's going to work. Yeah, I think we're
Okay.
I just couldn't see putting in this little metal, it looks like a metal table, and walking away from it and saying, oh, we're done. I mean, we have to look at what we're going to use it for. And I think that taking the extra time and getting the others involved is going to be worthwhile. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So we will now move on. Next, we have office hours, Christmas holidays, and year-end housekeeping items from Amanda. Amanda's tidying up.
How many shopping days?
That's right. I know it seems ridiculous to start thinking about year-end and Christmas holidays, but that's where my mind is at. So annually, staff approaches council for approval to close the office to the public from Christmas Day to New Year's Day. And then we come back in the new year. The reason for it is there is not a lot of interest in paying your tax bill or your water bill or building infrastructure. A lot of the associations offices are closed, ministry offices are closed for this time. And a lot of other municipalities in the surrounding area are also closed for the Christmas holidays. So in the past, when we have closed for the Christmas week, it allows staff to use up vacation time so that we don't have that year-end accrual, to use up any banked overtime if they have it. And then those that do need to come into work, they still can come into the office and work if need be. So I'm usually here. And I believe the CAO clerk is usually here. And we answer the phone when we're here anyways. So I'm just asking for council's approval to proceed this year. And also, when I look back, I noticed that we have been asking for this for many, many years. We don't have a bylaw that deals with their municipal office hours. And so I'm also asking that our office hours be permanently closed from December 24th at noon to January 1st annually. And then if a certain situation comes up, then we can do the flip side and provide a report to council and request that the office be open for that time. So
okay, so
deal with those things one at a time.
Okay, certainly. So what would you like us to start with? You want to start with the office hours?
Sure. If there's any questions with regards to that.
So is there any questions about the office hours? I'm not seeing any. Okay, what's next?
If the CAO clerk would like to speak to it, we were just discussing the meeting schedule for December and January. So we've provided some meeting dates for council and in committee and regular council for Tuesday, December 1st, Tuesday, December 15th, Thursday, January 7th, and Tuesday, January 19th, and to see if that conflicts with anybody's schedule yet.
Okay. So I know I had no conflict, and I'm assuming the Thursday, January 7th is to allow staff a bit of time to come back from the time when the office is closed and to be able to prepare an agenda and get it out to us. It's actually a very short period of time in which to do that and still allow council the time to read that agenda. So I am cognizant of that.
Yes,
All
that
right.
is correct. If we don't change it to a Thursday, then the deputy clerk and myself, as well as council and department heads would have to prepare the reports the week of the 29th of December. And so January has 5 weeks. So it allows us to do that if it works for council.
Okay. Does any member of council have a conflict with those dates that they're aware of now? I know it's pretty out in the future. I'm not seeing any concerns. Okay, so the meeting schedule seems to be okay. And then is there anything else, Amanda? And if not, I'll just have Sue read the recommendation.
So I just have a little blurb on service awards for 2019 years of service and
Okay.
staff Christmas lunch. So in discussing with the CAO clerk, in light of the current COVID-19 restrictions, as you're aware, we typically have a staff Christmas lunch here in the municipal office, and the CAO clerk had suggested maybe we have it at the Paul J. Akleski Community Center during the day, you know, for a couple of hours, and then we can have the service awards, and it's a nice way for our peers to recognize and acknowledge the years of service as well, rather than just have it at an evening council meeting, how it typically is. Just a nice way to bring everybody together.
Okay. Any concerns with that? I think that would be a lovely opportunity to bring us together while physically distancing and again, do that recognition with the service awards. We don't have a date yet on that, obviously.
No, I had discussed it with the deputy clerk, and she's gonna try and find a day that would be good for everyone closer, I think, to the time, because our schedules always change, right? So, and she will bring something up at a later time for a date.
Okay. All right. So I don't see any concerns with that. I'm wondering then if Sue could read the recommendation.
Yes, that the Township of Madawaska Valley modify the hours of business policy EO1 to accommodate the 2020 Christmas and New Year's holidays by closing the offices on December 24th at noon, 2020, reopening on January 4th, 2021. And that the municipal office be permanently closed from December 24th at noon to January 1st annually. And that the Township of Madawaska Valley modify the normal hours of operations of the landfill and transfer station sites and curbside pickup services to accommodate the 2020-2021 Christmas and New Year's holidays.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the recommendation? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next we have municipal office security, and it is again Amanda's report. So I'll turn it back over to Amanda.
Okay, so in working through the office renovation tasks with Andrew Poplinski, we recognized a need for security within the building. So we had AV Locksmithing, who's our security contractor for our municipal buildings. He installed a mirror on the wall at the front door so that office staff can see around the corners and down the stairs, because at this time now people are coming in and they're sort of lingering at the front and you don't know who's coming or what's going on. But after that, we started thinking about the exterior of the building, and we do not have exterior security cameras. And that's always also a concern because we hear the doorbells at the back as well, but we can't see who's there unless we're going, and we don't know what's happening after hours as well. So I contacted AV Locksmithing again, and he had provided me a quote for 2 security cameras for approximately $2,000. He said it would be a light job. He would provide us with the most up-to-date camera system, and it would be I wrote it down. It would be color during the day and black and white at night. I'm requesting that council approve this because it wasn't, although it's below our purchasing threshold for council approval, it is part of the office renovations and it was never discussed previously. And the money to offset this cost would be part of the provincial modernization fund. So I think it's important for the security of our building, and I'm hoping that council sees this as well and approves the recommendation. Any comments?
Hey, thank you, Amanda. Somehow you vanished. We
I
can
know.
hear you.
Oh, that too.
You got all shy all of a sudden.
Yeah. I'm still here.
Okay, so I'm just checking. Oh, you don't have any more. Oh, there we are. You're back. Okay. So does council have any questions of Amanda on the security upgrades? I'd certainly like to comment that the mirror at the front entryway is excellent. Unfortunately, now I can't sneak up on Marie at all, right? It's like the voice of God. Good morning, Kim, and I'm still coming in the door. But that's great. I'm certainly very supportive of this. It also would be nice to have that sort of capacity to ensure that if anyone was ever to decide foolishly to break into our building, that we would potentially have some footage, I would assume. Now, it does record, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's great. Also, somebody tripping or falling just outside of our building, that incident would be recorded.
Yes. And we have
Okay.
had some vandalism outside of the municipal office in our parking lot and whatnot. So, it's good to see what's going on around us.
Okay. All right. Sue, would you like to read the recommendation?
Yes, through the chair, that committee and council recommends that council grants approval for the installation of 2 security cameras on the exterior of the municipal office building.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, last item is office hours, and I do believe this is Sue's report.
Yes, not sure if you have any questions on my brief report. This is following COVID and staff having to pretty much keep up with summaries of meetings. Everything is electronic. We're sending emails back and forth as to what's happening electronically. Would like to, now that we can have up to 10 in the council chambers with distancing, and if we have masks, that council and committee, I'd like you to approve my recommendation to allow us on a trial basis to say that the office is opening at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. every Monday. That would allow for set agendas for staff meetings once a week, allowing us to catch up with some of our projects that have that require input from all departments, the strategic plan, some human resources policy, health and safety. We're at the point where we're almost ready to roll out the website. Instead of having individual meetings, if we know that that hour is scheduled and we have an agenda ahead of time, then amongst departments and amongst all the staff, we can say that it's reserved for those updates. So my consideration was that we are all here at 8 o'clock prior to 8, but when you call, it would say that the office on Mondays opens at 9, closes at 4, and the rest of the week opens at 8 and closes at 4. So it's council consideration.
Okay, thank you. I know when Sue mentioned this to me, I thought it was an excellent idea because often, even when she does try to get staff together, our front of counter staff, our frontline staff are not always able to hear some of the changes or information that is going on. And they're the very people who have to relay that information to the public. So to me, being able to engage all of staff and have them all hear these key items and be aware of them would be super important. I did ask Sue, how busy is the office Monday between 8 and 9? And I think I actually spoke to Amanda as well about that. And it is not a busy time in our office. So it is probably the best choice for a time in which to give staff that opportunity to make sure that they are communicating and sharing information with each other. Thoughts of council, anyone? Any concerns? Not seeing any concerns, Sue. Did you want to read the recommendation?
Yes, that council and committee recommends that council approve the CAO clerk recommendation to allow the office at 85 Bay Street to open at 9 a.m. on Mondays, effective Monday, September 21st, in lieu of 8 a.m. to allow for scheduled weekly staff meetings, Mondays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schillis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, that finishes our municipal reports. Next, we have correspondence and information. First up is a resolution from the town of Prescott dated August 10th, 2020 regarding the Canada-US border. The town of Prescott is asking the federal government to maintain the Canada-US border closure until the risk of COVID-19 traveling into Canada from the US is minimized and there is objective data indicating the growth and spread of the virus in the US is consistent with the growth and spread in Canada. Would council like to support this resolution? Councillor Bromwich,
Definitely.
so are you moving?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bromwich. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so if we could just send a letter of support for that resolution. Next, okay, wait a second, there it is. Okay. Next, we have a letter from Warden Debbie Robinson of the County of Renfrew dated August 12th, 2020 regarding the Renfrew County Virtual Triage and Assessment Center, and a letter from Paul Morrow of the County of Renfrew dated August 27th, 2020 regarding a Renfrew County Virtual Triage and Assessment Center resolution. So council has received the resolution passed by County Council to seek the support of local municipalities and the City of Pembroke for the Renfrew County Virtual Triage and Assessment Center. This service that was introduced to protect healthcare capacity and provide testing during the COVID-19 pandemic has proven an invaluable method of enhancing healthcare across the county, especially for the over 24,000 residents who do not have a family doctor. Warden Robinson and the county staff are making every effort to demonstrate to the province the many benefits of having the Renfrew County VTAC continue to provide healthcare support to our rural communities. Now, I did email council the presentation given to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus on the weekend, and we are working on a letter of support as well for Renfrew County VTAC from Madawaska Valley. Is there any comments or discussion from council? Okay. So if you, I know we did actually receive an email from a resident and she was basically writing in support of this service and she had used it and the benefits of it to those without a family doctor. I did check with the resident and she agreed that we could share it. So I am looking to share that testimonial, and if you know of someone who's been helped by this service, please ask them if they would provide a letter of support that we can include in our submission to the province. Okay, so with that, if there's nothing further on that, hopefully we will be able to keep that service after the funding is removed for COVID, and the province will recognize it and continue to fund it. All right, if there's nothing further on that, we'll move to the letter from the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. EORN regarding EORN proposed ultra-fast gig internet project. So the Eastern Ontario Regional Network is seeking federal and provincial support to deliver ultra-fast 1 gigabit per second internet to homes and businesses across Eastern Ontario, including Renfrew County, through a $1.6 billion public-private partnership. The EORN Gig project anticipates future needs for an investment that will last a generation by delivering speeds 20 times the CRTC minimum basic service level. EORN has provided council with additional information on this project. Any comments or discussion on this item? Again, okay, I'm not seeing anything. I think it's for your information, so we'll just accept it as information. All right, next we have a letter from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus regarding the caucus's advocates strongly for priorities at 2020 AMO conference. So the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus has provided council with an update on their activities at this year's virtual AMO conference. That again is for your information. Any comments or discussion from council on that? Okay, again, information. All right, next is a letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing dated August 12, 2020 regarding the Safe Restart Agreement, and this is the document that we were referring to earlier. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has informed us that Madawaska Valley will be receiving $193,500 under the Phase 1 of the Federal Provincial Safe Restart Agreement to support our COVID-19 operating costs and pressures. This funding was allocated on a per household basis. Should the funding exceed our COVID-19 operating costs in 2020, the excess funds are to be placed in reserves to support COVID-related costs in 2021. Any comments or discussion from council on this? Again, we accept it as information, and certainly the municipality is very grateful to the federal government and the province for this funding to help us to deal with some of the many pressures we're facing as a result of modifications we've had to make to how we do things and those costs from COVID-19. All right. Okay. Next, I have a letter from AMO dated August 20th, 2020 regarding the local official elected at the 2020-2022, a lot of 20s in this, AMO Board of Directors. And I'd like to offer my congratulations to Reeve and County Councillor Peter Emo, who was elected to the Rural Caucus of the AMO Board at the virtual conference. As a member of the AMO Rural Caucus, Peter will also be a part of the Roma Board, and I'm looking forward to working and continuing our work together on Roma. Any comments from council? Okay, oh, I got a thumbs up from Councillor Bromwich. Council should note that there's a lot of interest that's starting to occur in these positions, and certainly Renfrew County has worked very hard to get us engaged at the AMO level, at the Roma level, and also at the FCM level. And I did send out an email to all of you encouraging you to register to vote for FCM. You are actually able to vote for FCM under the membership that Renfrew County holds. And we do have a representative from Deep River, Councillor Glenn Doncaster, who is the Reeve there, who is running for a position on the FCM board. And I do encourage you to register, vote, and support that local voice being heard at that level and representing us all very well. Okay, we will move on to the news release from the County of Renfrew dated August 24th, 2020, regarding County of Renfrew attends Association of Ontario Municipalities 2020 conference. So the County of Renfrew has provided us with information on their delegations and activities at the 2020 virtual AMO conference. Any discussion from council on that? As you can see, they were very active with delegations, again, putting forward some of the issues that we are facing in Renfrew County and attempting to connect with the government on a very one-to-one basis at the conference. Okay, we accept that again as information. And finally, if I can find it, here we go. Finally, we have a Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, August 25th, 2020, regarding the joint statement regarding World Trade Organization's panel report on softwood lumber duties. Minister Yakubuski and Minister Fedeli have issued a joint statement welcoming the decision of the World Trade Organization's panel that countervailing duties the U.S. placed on Canadian softwood lumber violate the U.S.'s WTO trade obligations. The WTO has reaffirmed the province's position that U.S. duties on our lumber are unjustified. This is certainly a very important step for our lumber industry in this area and across Canada, as we work very hard to ensure that we have access to markets to the south of us. Any comments, discussion from council? Again, we will accept that as information. Okay, do we have any unfinished business for finance and admin? Just checking with Sue.
I don't have anything outstanding. Not for
Okay.
finance and admin.
Okay, just wanted to double check. Okay, this concludes then the standing committee part of the meeting, and we'll move into the regular part of the meeting where we have bylaws. Bylaw 2020-76 regarding the Old Barry's Bay Road reduction of speed limit. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-76, being a bylaw to decrease the speed of motor vehicles from statutory speed limits, be given first and second reading this 1st of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-76 be given third and final reading this first day of September 2020. Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. And I will note that public notification was completed prior to this meeting. And there was a slight delay in getting the bylaw on the agenda, but now that process is complete. Bylaw 2020-77 regarding development agreement, Eugene Marchand and Kristen Marchand, severance applications B29-19-1 and B30-19-2. Recommendation is that bylaw 2020-77, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into an execution of a development agreement between Eugene Marchand and Kristen Marchand and the Township of Madawaska Valley, be given first and second reading this first day of September 2020. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-77 be given third and final reading this first day of September 2020. Could I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. We have no in-camera session today, so at this point, I will do the confirming bylaw. Bylaw 2020-78 regarding the confirming bylaw for the council and committee meeting of September 1st, 2020. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-78, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Madawaska Valley at a council meeting of September 1st, 2020, be given first and second reading. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2020-78 be given third and final reading this first day of September 2020. Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that's carried. Could I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are adjourned and we did make it, Councillor Bromwich. Thank you very much.
Job well done.